course, my phone's blowing up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Tackle Talk Live. I'm Ranger Daiwa Pro Staffer Steve Graff, along with V&M General Manager, the fish catching machine.
Yeah.
Kevin Jean is in the house. And we just want to say thank you for tuning us in today. We've got a great show lined up for you today. But real quick, Kevin's going to tell us who our number one sponsor is at this time.
The boat shop out of Bossier City. So Mr. Raymond Kidd, Shreveport, Bossier City area.
Yeah, Shreveport,
Bossier City area. Raymond Kidd and his staff take great pride in keeping your boat motor performing at its best. A certified Yamaha dealer and home to the best motor on the market today, the Yamaha Show. They also carry one of the best aluminum boats around, Sea Arc. So stop by 2410 Sanford Avenue in Shreveport and let the boat shop take care of all your boating needs. Or you can give them a call, 318-402-0399. Also, you can check out their website at shreveportboatshop.com.
All right. Thank you, Raymond Kidd and that gang over there. Also, if you're getting a little stir crazy, we've all been inside. Some of us have been on the lake trying to fish, especially at Toledo Bend. I know Kevin and I have been at Toledo Bend with not great results to report, but anyway, timing is critical when it comes to bass fishing, and our timing probably couldn't have been worse. But real quick, while Kevin, we do have a special guest today. We got Ott DeFoe going to be on the phone with us today, talk about his huge win at Lake Fork, Texas, and he finished the championship day at Lake Athens. And we're going to get his take on how that all went down and the do's and don'ts and what he did and didn't do and should have done, or obviously he did something right. And it all comes down to, again, timing on a lot of these tournaments, and Ott DeFoe is going to talk about that today. But also, we're going to do an FLW update with Lake Martin, how the FLW tournament came out there. FLW is postponing a lot of their events. We'll talk a little bit about how some of these organizations are postponing, some are continuing, especially on the pro circuit. And again, Kevin and I will give our take on Toledo Bend. And we also got a Bass Cash Bass report we're going to be doing. And if you're not signed up for Bass Cash Bass, guys,
don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy, because I'm telling you, especially right now, a lot of people are going to the lakes. As I can attest to, there's not a stretch of a 100-yard bank on Toledo Bend that's not got somebody on it right now. So if you're going to the lake, take the time to sign up. I mean, it's the best, $50
$50
you'll ever spend, and you got a chance to win money for a long stretch of time, all the way up till, I think, the week of Labor Day, the weekend.
July 4th, Toledo Bend.
Yeah.
And it goes through July 4th.
July 4th, that's right. It used to go through Labor Day. Now it's July the 4th. So, but you got from now till then to go to those bodies of water, and there's a lot of bodies of water that P.D. Vincent has added to his probably the biggest bass tournament in America right now is Bass Cash Bass. So make sure you check it out. All right, on the phone with us, we have the one and only, the champion of Stage 3, Major League Fishing, Ott DeFoe. Ott, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you fellas doing?
We are doing absolutely great. We're a little stir crazy. We're trying to get on the water like as much as you are, and trying to fish a little bit. But cause that's about the only thing you can go do right now is go fishing. And but Ott, with your big win coming, y'all started out on Lake Fork and you ended up on Lake Athens. Yep. I guess my first question would be, compare those two bodies of water and how different they were. Everybody thought, well, they're probably less than an hour apart, so there couldn't be that big a difference, but there really was, wasn't there?
There definitely was. Just as far as looking at the lakes, Fork it's got some gator grass. It's got a little bit of coontail, a little bit of grass in it, but all in all, fairly dirty water, pretty dirty water. Of course, a lot of trees, a lot of standing timber, a lot of stumps. But then Athens, a much clearer lake, tons of vegetation, a lot of eelgrass, a lot of coontail, and gator grass and that stuff around the banks up shallow as well. A lot of cattails, a lot of that kind of stuff. So definitely a lot clearer. And then, of course, Athens is a small lake, like 1,800 acres, where Fork is pretty good size. I don't know just how many surface acres it is, but yeah, definitely a good size lake. But Fork will fluctuate a little bit. I don't think Athens probably fluctuates very much, just given all the residential development around it and everything. It probably stays pretty stable. But both of them managed very well by Texas Parks and Wildlife and everything they do. But Then as far as, what was going on right then, it's about Athens, about 75 miles south of Fork. Obviously, being a lot smaller lake's going to warm up a lot quicker. So those fish were considerably further along. There weren't many fish, if any, hardly done spawning on Fork, where those fish down there on Athens, there was certainly a good wave or possibly two that were already done spawning. So it just made for a lot different scenario as far as what the fish were actually doing down there.
Well, all right, before we jump into Lake Athens, let's talk a little bit about Lake Fork. We got a lot of viewers that listen and go fishing there at Lake Fork. Practice-wise, what did you find? I know it was a sight fishing deal and how you guys fish, but did you feel like something else was going to play that didn't play? Did you find something out in the middle of the tournament? Kind of give us your report and update there on Fork.
I didn't spend a lot of time on Fork looking for pre-spawn fish. I mean, I say that I probably spent a quarter of my practice, maybe a third even, on Fork looking for pre-spawners. And what time I did that, man, I never got any bites at all, not a bite. But I could pull into the back of the pocket, throw it at something that looked like a little sandy place or a hole in the grass or, a little nook where there should be a bed, and I'd get bit.
Yeah.
And, so it was like I'd fish a point, I wouldn't catch anything, I'd go back in a pocket, and I would throw around shallow, and I'd get 2 bites or 3 bites. So I just – the lack of being able to find any kind of pre-spawn fish on Fork really surprised me. And I know there were a few guys did well doing that. I know Brandon Coulter made the cut doing that. But it surprised me that I wasn't able to get that going any.
But basically, this was a pitching and flipping tournament, right?
Sight fishing for me, yeah. I wasn't really flipping a lot. I did use some, I did pitch around some stuff on the bed, but it was really a wacky worm and then using a Tokyo rig to sight fish with were my 2 deals.
Now, I know, y'all are in there on Fork, prime weekend, spring break. I know they had a kayak tournament going on. How hard was it to get around and even find a place to fish?
Good gosh.
My group, we lucked out pretty good.
Y'all did. Y'all didn't have to go on Saturday.
Right. We fished Friday, and it was kind of nasty. It was the first day that they had called for rain or anything. We didn't end up getting much rain, but they were calling for it all day and a chance of storms. And it drizzled just enough, I think, to keep people off the water. That Wednesday and Thursday were beautiful days. And so Friday was kind of crappy and a little windy and a little rainy, and we had it pretty good. And then Saturday was an absolute zoo. I noticed when I drove by the lake a time or two, man, that every boat ramp was slammed full of trailers as well as trucks with just for the kayaks. And yeah, it looked to be an absolute zoo. Sunday, when we were back out there again, man, it was kind of crappy again. And a lot, that kayak tournament was over with, and we had it pretty doggone good again. So my Group A, boy, we really hit it pretty lucky as far as the traffic goes.
Well, for all you people out there that had the opportunity to watch MLF Live, which is a great. They do a wonderful job. JT Kinney and the entire
Marty
staff.
Stone, yeah. Marty Stone.
All those guys do a wonderful job of covering these events. But I want to kind of set this up for you as we go into championship round right here. There's 1 hour and 30 minutes left in round 3. Ott has 12.18 pounds, was down basically to
Mark Daniels Jr.
Mark Daniels Jr., 22 pounds.
Yep.
He had 34 and some change, and Ott sitting in 5th. And the guys really aren't even talking about Ott. They've just kind of written him off. And right. I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, with 1 hour, 18 minutes left in round 3, he came across the mother lode.
Yeah.
And I watched it again last night, Ott, and I'm going to tell you, you didn't get overly excited when you came across them. You thought, well, there's some fish right there, and you jumped up. Right. It turned into a catch fest, didn't it?
It really did. And I didn't get overly excited because I had found some fish earlier. Actually where I started, I could see them on my 360. Well, I'm a bird 360, but man, they were really hard to get to bite. So just finding them. I mean, that was a huge step of it. But I mean, actually, where I had just left out of the back of the creek, they had been schooling 2 or 3 times, and I wasn't able to get those fish to bite. So, yeah, seeing them, finding them's a huge part of it, but it is still only a part of it. You still got to catch them at that point. So I was glad I had run across them. I wasn't sure just how many were there. I knew that there was a good many, but yes, I did. I hopped up my first cast with that DT10. I actually could feel the bait bumping across their backs. There were so many there. And it was 4 or 5 casts of bumping across their backs before I caught one. But when I caught that one, the whole school come up and erupted. And man, it was, once I saw that, I was like, oh my, what I need to win is right here. There's no question. I just got to make sure I can get them to bite.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the help of the boats idling through the bridge and keeping the shad and the bait fish stirred up. And I even noticed you did it one time as well. I mean, you got down and just drove in circles around to get the bait fish fired up. And you stood right up and caught a couple more, right, again.
Yeah. I absolutely. That's not something I do a lot, but in this particular scenario, there was a boat idled through there one time, and he was being polite. He was actually Andy Montgomery was the first guy who idled through there, and Andy went way out around, real slow, just barely idling, and tried not to disturb anything. And I didn't catch any when he went through right after that, but actually 10 or 15 minutes later, a guy who'd been watching out in the back started up and started idling it out, and it had been kind of dead for 5 or 10 minutes. I was like, man, rev it up a little bit, and he did just a little bit, and it was my very next cast. I actually hung one and lost it, and then the fish come up schooling again. So it definitely made a big difference. Just kind of getting those bait fish. I think it just startles the bait fish. It makes them get excited, move around real quick, and then that gets the bass going again.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Had you just pulled up to that spot from the opposite direction and not idled through those fish and got the bait fish to begin with, could that be a spot that they just might not have ever fired? They might not have ever got going?
I don't know that they would have never gotten fired, but they may not have in the time that I was there.
Right.
Had I stopped on the back side of the bridge, dropped the trolling motor, and then just fished my way through there, it may not have happened at all, because Brandon Coulter he told me, he's like, man, I'll fish through there 30 minutes before you come through there and start catching them.
Oh, wow.
And he threw a jerk bait, which a jerk bait was like the least productive thing I threw in there, which I don't understand, because in practice 2 days before, that's what I caught them on.
Did you catch him on that spot in practice?
I did not. Nice. I did not. I marked it. Actually, when I drove in there, I drove across that bridge. I saw them right there schooling. I mean, where I ended up catching them, I saw them schooling. When I was driving in, but I actually never caught anything there in practice. I didn't spend much time on it, but I didn't catch any.
Right.
But that's such a typical pattern at this time of year, where those fish will stage up at the mouth of a creek going under a bridge. I mean, we've all known the classic's been one. Randy Howe won it that way. I mean, it's just it's a highway, isn't it? It's funneling fish through an area.
Yeah, it's actually it's a man-made funnel, when those bridges are like that. And then anytime you get any wind or anything, we had a good south breeze, so it was blowing right through there, and that was definitely a good help. But anytime you've got anything moving through those areas, any wind or natural current or something, and it funnels through there, it's just a great ambush point. And I mean, I'm guaranteed that's a community hole as far as that lake's concerned.
Right.
A lot of people fish
it is
that.
now anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and let's get specific here. When you find a spot like that, do you want to be upwind or downwind when you're throwing in that kind of situation there?
You want to be wherever the bass are.
Okay.
And honestly, it could have just as easily been on the backside of the bridge.
Right.
If the wind was blowing out of the north, maybe it would have been on the backside. Typically, it is going to be on the side the wind is coming from. So,
right.
Like the wind was blowing out of the south, I was on the south side of the bridge where that wind was hitting it.
Right.
More times than not, it's going to be on that side where the whichever direction that current is coming from, those fish are going to kind of post into that, and that's where they're going to be.
you caught several 2-pounders, and I think even one close to 3, and then all of a sudden, catch the 906. And I kept telling myself, he's going to sit right here and mess around and catch a sack, and he's going to catch a big one. But I'll be very honest with you, I was not expecting a 9-pounder to come out of there.
Yeah.
But, and you caught that on the DT10, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the big fish, I think, came on the DT10. 5-pounder, you followed up with that, right?
Yeah, 5-pounder. Had another one I know I had one, at least one over 5, another heavy 4, like nearly a 5-pounder, and then some more, 3, 3.5, or nearly 4-pounders. But yeah, every fish, I think I caught one 3-pounder either on the bucktail or the jerkbait. I'm not sure.
And that is a big fish for Lake Athens. I mean, I know Fort grows them, just enormous, but for Lake Athens, a 9-pounder is an absolute monster on that lake.
Okay, so yeah, that's. The day we practiced it was the first time I fished, and this was the second time. And we were down there for the pre-fish. I caught one nearly 7.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's an awesome little lake.
Well, let's talk about real quick the DT10, which is no stranger to this type of fishing this time of year. A lot of fish are caught on it, but you have a new color that's coming out at ICAST this year that you caught those fish on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that color that I was using there was called Big Shad. It's a buddy of mine up here who painted that for me. But that's a color that I've had him painting for me for a few years. It's just an excellent bait fish imitating color, real natural color, and did well last year when we fished at Table Rock.
If you want us to preview that on the show, you can send us a couple samples down here.
Yes.
And we'll definitely, get them up on the show and show them off. But yeah, just send it. We'll get you the address afterwards. You can send us some samples down, and we'll let you know how it does down here on Toledo Bend.
6 is a good number. Well, six is a good number. We like.
6 is a good number. Okay, yeah.
Hey, and in return. Well, no, I can't do that. Never mind. I was speaking out of turn there. I can't send you anything. So, but anyway,
All right, let's talk about let's go back to Lake Fork a little bit. Again, we talked about the amount of pressure it receives, and it's not that big of a lake. How, in your opinion, I know you're not from there, you're a Tennessee guy, but in your opinion, how can a fishery like that, and I asked this to all the guides up there, how can it keep the pressure that it does and still people be able to go catch the fish they catch, the numbers they catch, and the size they catch? I know the slot, but, man, it is unreal the amount of pressure that lake gets. It gets the pressure that Rayburn and Toledo gets, and Rayburn and Toledo are twice its size.
Exactly.
4 times its size. Yeah, right. It really is amazing. The slot absolutely helps because just like those fish that were there, the great thing with our format with Major League Fishing is we catch them off a bed, whatever. We catch them, we weigh them, we let them go, he swims right back in there.
Yeah.
But a tournament on Toledo or a Rayburn or anywhere else, those fish in the tournament are caught, put in a live well, hauled 10 miles, 30 miles, 50 miles back to the ramp, weighed in, and then let go. There's no question that takes a toll on the fishery. The amount of fish we catch off the bed and haul in is less than 0.1%. No question about it. But it still is. That 0.1% reproduces, and still, those are fish that are not going to be successful reproducing like they would have been. So even that 0.1%. Is important too into the life of that fishery. So that slot definitely does do a lot for that. I think a lot of our lakes have, I don't know that many fish are kept under the slot at Fork and eaten or anything like that by local anglers or people traveling down there to just go fishing. But keeping smaller ones is always a better way. And from what I've always heard from biologists and stuff, that does help bigger ones be more numerous. If a slot limit is handled correctly, it really benefits the fishery in that way too. But for Fork to not have any more vegetation than it does, it is an amazing fishery. But it's the big thing with so many of your East Texas fisheries is Texas Parks and Wildlife. They do so much stocking, just management in general, and man, they really, bass are king in Texas, and they certainly keep a lot of focus on them. and that to me is probably the biggest difference. For so many of your old lakes. I mean, Athens as well is a prime example of that place. I don't know that I've ever been to a lake that looked like it was any more managed for bass fishing than Athens. I mean, the amount of grass that it had, the way the grass was. There was some places that had fields of pad stems. The docks. It's everything about it, man. It was like, if you were going to make a lake look like it's built for bass fishing, this is probably what it would look like.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you just went where I wanted to go. My question to you is, because you were very complimentary about the Texas Parks and Wildlife and how they manage the fisheries in Texas. And my question is, why is Texas so far ahead of most other states when it comes to lake management? Is it money, or are they more committed to the process of trying to develop fisheries?
Yeah, I don't know well enough to answer that honestly, but I think they, that somebody in management or legislation, something there obviously has been a bass fisherman, was a bass fisherman a long time ago, and they for one, they saw the revenue potential. They know if they invest in their fisheries, they're gonna reap the benefits of that between license sold, tax on fishing equipment being sold. It was you could look at it as nothing more than being a strategic investment on their part, and that they're reaping the benefits of. That's that they knew if it's the build it and they will come kind of deal. That's you build the ballpark and they're going to play the game there. And that's
they definitely have seen, they know the revenue. I think they were so much further ahead and being able to visually see what bass fishing brought to their economy. And you're exactly right there.
And they made a commitment.
Correct. Correct. They did. They made a commitment. Last question we got for you here, and kind of switching topics.
Well, we got two questions.
Well, yeah, we got two questions. I'm sorry. Well, okay. One more we're going with here is, so rumor is, and I don't know how much you can speak on this topic, just kind of let us know where y'all are at. MLF is going to try to continue their tournaments, continue on as scheduled with their tournaments. With all of this horrible virus that we have going around and all the shutdowns and everything we have going on, where is MLF at right now as far as staying on schedule with the tournaments, or are they still kind of undecided?
We as a league, we want to fish.
Right.
As a group of anglers, the vast majority are in favor of fishing. But we know there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of stuff outside of our control. Even just as far as having the event is concerned,
Right.
Production team has to get there, and the team has to get to Tulsa, and cameramen and boat officials, and there's a lot of moving parts, as there is with any kind of event trying to go on at any point in time. So that we know that there are a lot of moving parts, but we certainly can see the benefit of being able to continue if we can do that, and our families are safe at home,
right?
And we're able to be safe traveling and being on the road, and then can effectively have an event. We can get gas, we can have lodging, we can eat, we can sleep, we can do all those things. If we can effectively have an event, I think that is still our goal.
Well, and I think part of the problem you're fixing to run into now, that when y'all first voted on this to handle it this way, which was probably at that time probably not as big a deal as it has become now, that some states have mandated only if you're non-essential work,
Right.
don't go. We don't want you on the road. Right. We don't want you traveling state to state. We don't want you leaving the state. We don't want you leaving your home. I think things have changed a little bit now, and I didn't know if MLF was maybe rethinking this thing and looking at it again.
Yeah, no, it definitely has changed since we had that call. And as far as a lot more states have went to that kind of regulation of, only necessary.
Right.
Only if it's necessary for you to be outside your home traveling around, that is when you should do that. And that's the last thing we want to do, is go against any kind of government regulations of, they're telling us, advising us to stay home and to stay put. But out here we are on live, going fishing, and kind of laughing in their face. That's not a good look either. So,
right.
If we're able to do it in a safe manner that's not shedding any negative light on anything, then I think we would love to do that. But that's, it makes me ask the question. They say to stay home. I'm probably not going to sit in my house for the next 2 weeks. If we're not fishing tournament, I'm probably going to load up, drive over here to Douglas or Cherokee, and put the boat in the water and go fishing. And that's the beauty of now that's just me. That's just one person, and that's just me going fishing. That's not having 80 of us show up there to go. So, but it's not a big difference in a lot of ways with our organization, and the fact that I would have one boat official and one cameraman in the boat with me. And then, we don't have a weigh-in. It's all done on the water. We could all put in at different boat ramps to where we're not around each other very much. Never have to speak to each other, on the water or anything. And so it's almost like, what's the difference in us competing or just going fishing for the fun of it with the way our format is?
Right.
It's not much more intrusive. So I don't know. I'd love to be able to go, but the very last thing we need to do is to go against any kind of government regulations or state mandates or anything like that too.
Well, we got one more final question for you. Now, it's a tough one. Now, you gotta put your thinking cap on this one now. Okay, back in the day, I say back in the day, probably still today. When you're in first place or second place and you're looking over your shoulder and there's a Kevin Van Dam sitting there in third or fourth, and you're like, oh man, that's the last guy I want sitting on my heels. Other than yourself now with Major League Fishing, who is the one guy that everybody's like, I wish he wasn't sitting where he's at right now?
For me, personally, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, it's always Wheeler. It's always Jacob.
He's definitely excelling in this format. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, for sure. He's always been a thorn in my side. But we're very much we're buddies, and I love to beat him, and he loves to beat me, and we're frenemies on the water that way. But we fish fairly similar in a lot of ways. But he's very good at this format. He's very good in any format. He's always. I actually made the comment on live at this last event. I said this winning this championship day should be super easy. I don't even have to beat Wheeler today. So
yeah.
Well, all right, we appreciate you, Kevin. You got anything else?
I just want to make sure to say congrats on your first MLF win. I'm sure there'll be many more to come.
That's huge.
Thank you. I sure appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you joining us today on Tackle Talk Live. And, folks, we hope you've learned something today. Ott was very informative and gave us some great detail. And Ott, again, no matter what happens, whichever way MLF decides to go with more tournaments this year, I know at some point everything will pick back up and hopefully we'll get back to normal. But, hey, best wishes and best of luck for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys.
All right, Ott.
Ott DeFoe, winner of Stage 3. Over at Lake Fork in Lake Athens, Texas. And he's just such an informative guy, and he breaks things down for you really well. But of course, I've had the privilege of visiting with Ott in the past. He's just a really great angler at breaking a tournament down, what he's doing, how he's doing it. But there's not a better guy on the tour.
No, there's not.
He's just a good person.
There's not. And as you said, he's no different on the phone talking with us right there as he is in person.
Right.
No matter, it's Ott is Ott. And, a lot of guys is a little bit different. And when you meet them in person or if you're having dinner with them, they're themselves. Ott is always the same guy.
Or me and you both have had some interaction with a lot of these guys at ICAST. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you figure out real quick who the good guys are and who's not.
Who's liked and who's not
who's
liked.
not liked, exactly
and
right.
There's not one more well-liked than Ott is.
Man, he's so approachable, and I've seen him talk to the kids, the grandma, grandpa. He's just an approachable guy. And
really is.
For all you anglers out there that are looking to emulate somebody, that's a great one to emulate right there. Watch how he does things. Watch how he handles his business. So, all right, Kevin, let's move on here. FLW.
So FLW is at Lake Martin this past weekend, and they did finish the event.
This is the pro circuit tour.
This is the pro circuit. They finished that event. Now everything is postponed through April 5th. FLW has postponed everything through April 5th, so they was able to finish this tournament. So first place, Jason Abram had a total of 4-day total weight of 52.9. He caught 11.6 on day 1. The big bag of the stringer, 17.10 on day 2. 12.6 on day 3 and 11.3 on day 4 to win his $100,000. Second place was Mr. Ron Nelson with 51.8. Spencer Sheffield was third with 51 pounds even. Matt Becker and Laramie Strickland rounded out the top 5 over there in Lake Martin. And you talk about a tough event.
Yeah, it was a very tough event. Real quick, Kevin, kind of get your input on this. Looking at the guys that were top 10, top 20. Very few names on there do most people even recognize.
Yeah, it was a different type of tournament. I know talking to Daryl and Nick and a lot of others over there that was there, and it was a sight fishing deal, and it was a ton of pound and a halfers, but finding that 2 and 3 pound bite was very hard. But I think the reason what you're talking about is seeing some names you're not used to seeing. It was a very, very finesse type, wacky rig, slow down fishing that they don't do a lot of.
Right.
A lot of your big names are flippers and pitchers and crankbait guys, but you had to really slow down and wacky worm and to really get the big bites here. And that's why I think you've seen some different names at the top of the leaderboard.
Well, like Jason, he's an 11-year veteran. Second place was Ron Nelson, and he is basically a 2-year veteran. So you're seeing a new group of names, a new group of anglers emerge now, and I guess some of the guys switching from the college series, moving up to this. We got Daryl Gleason fishing the pro circuit now. We got Nick LeBrun fishing this. We got Randy DeSpino as far as regional guys from this area. Randy Allen. Now Randy had a good tournament here.
Kobe Miller had a really good first day. Fell off on the second day, but like I said, it's one bite. If you had a 3 and 4 pound bite, you're in top 20, top 30 on day 1. If you don't get that bite on day 2, you fall off.
Right.
So it was a different event for those guys. I know.
And hats off to Randy Allen. He's from this region. He's from Gillum, Louisiana. Originally was living at Del Rio. His dad lives here in Natchitoches, and where we're based out of. And so congratulations to Randy. He's one of those guys that Randy's put in a lot of time. He's paid his dues, so to speak. And but Lindell Martin Jr., I looked down the list here. He's an old veteran. He's been around a long time. He was in 32nd. But just not a lot of recognizable names. And again, Tom Reddington, he's Scott Martin's old roommate from Roy City, Texas, another really good angler. He finished 17th. So I think Casey Scallion, Casey's been around a while. He finished 11th in this event. So and Jordan Osborne from Longview, Texas. Jordan, I think he's been kind of one of the guys that's been kind of up and coming. He's a 5-year pro.
Yeah. Jordan's done very well last couple of years. He's really kind of come in his little zone there.
And then the biggest, probably the most experienced angler of all these guys is going to be Mr. Tom Monser, a 17-year veteran of FLW. And I actually fished with Tom in an event back in 2004, and Tom finished 7th overall. So Greg Bohannon, there are a few names that Spencer Sheffield that are sprinkled in there, but again, if you're not watching FLW, you need to watch these guys. Just because they're not who the big names from the past, they can still fish. These guys are good.
There's no doubt. And a lot of these names you're going to hear more and more throughout the year and throughout the years, and we will become familiar with their name.
Right.
So going back, FLW is postponing all events through April 5th.
Right.
So pro circuits, BFLs, so on and so forth, they are postponed through April 5th. In which I think they'll make another call, because I know like here in Louisiana, we're on stay at home till April 13th.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, before April 5th gets here, if they're going to carry it on out further.
And that's basically where we're going next. Our opinion, will April 13th be the end all be all,
I sure hope.
But me and you both probably feel that's not. I think we're looking at another 4 weeks after that. I think you're looking at early May, maybe mid-May before things truly get back to any kind of normalcy. Now, how soon will these anglers and these organizations say, okay, look, we've done all we can. It's time to go back. We got to get back to work here.
It's just so hard, Steve, because their travel, they have to stop and get gas. They have to stop and eat. They can't go in anywhere.
Their exposure.
So the travel, once they get to lake and fish, it's not really that big of a deal, other than having to stay somewhere, at a hotel or whatever, a cabin they're renting. But the biggest thing is the travel and having to stop and eat. And you're just really putting those guys out there at risk, and that's what they're all trying to do. And I really think MLF is going to end up coming around and postponing theirs when you have states like Louisiana and California, the different ones that have put basically a stay-at-home policy,
a curfew from 5 o'clock.
So yeah, so it's going to be interesting what comes out next couple of weeks, but it is what it is at this point.
Well, I look for Major League Fishing to make probably some kind of announcement in the next day or two.
Absolutely.
Now that this event's over at Lake Fork, so
but we can still go fishing.
We can still go fishing.
And the one tournament that you can get in, and go fish
and avoid a crowd.
And avoid a crowd. You don't have to do anything. Bass Cash Bash.
Never has the time been better for you to fish Bass Cash Bash.
You're absolutely right. You have a reason to fish. You're for you guys that love tournament fishing, love the challenge. It's something for you to do. I know a lot of you right now are, we can still go fishing. That is the one thing that we can still go do. I know, and the lakes was absolutely packed this past weekend. So if you're not registered, you need to make sure and get registered. We're going to go through the numbers here in a little while. It just shocks me every day how many tags are caught. That are not registered. And I know you talked about a while ago. It's $50 registration. You have a chance to win $1,000, $1,500, a brand new truck, or a brand new boat.
And you can sign up
for $50
for one or a bunch of lakes.
Absolutely.
Not just one lake at a time. You can sign up for a bunch of them.
And we'll go through all the lakes. So we have Sam Rayburn. It goes January 1st through April 30th. There is 200 tags in Sam Rayburn. There's a truck tag and there's a boat tag. So far, there has been 46 tags reported.
Now, how many were entered? Do you know on that?
He didn't give me those. He gave me the reported tags.
Okay.
On some of them I do, but Lake Sam Rayburn, he did not give me that.
Okay.
Louisiana Delta is February 1st through May 31st, and there has been 21 tags reported out of the 200 there. Now, the rest of there's 7 lakes in all, so the rest of these 5 lakes go from March 1st through July 4th. So you have Lake Eufaula over in Alabama. There's been 16 tags reported. Lake Gunnersville has been 19 tags reported. Right up here at Caddo Lake, there has been 15 tags reported. Only 4 were registered. So there has been 11 guys at Caddo Lake that has lost out on their $1,500 because they were not registered for $50. Lake Fork was 14 tags reported. Now Lake Fork, he doesn't do a boat and truck tag. Oh, he does a boat, I believe, but he does something a little different. Monster of the Month. So he does Monster of the Month. It's $1,000 reward for he has two different levels. He has the guide level and then just the regular fisherman level. Right now, the regular fisherman, Charles Dwayne Godwin, is leading with 10.75 pounds. Now, they have till the end of March to beat this. And the guide is Mr. Jason Kahn with 10.61. So you got
basically 7 days left.
You have 7 days left, correct. And that's the Monster of the Month. $1,000 goes to the biggest one caught in both entries.
And here's one of the benefits of fishing Bass Cash Bash. This year, the tags are blue. So if you catch a blue tag, that's a 2020 fish that's been tagged. There may be some red tags or some green tags, I think yellow. It's been going for like 3 or 4 years now. So if you catch an old tag and you still turn it in, you may win a rod and reel combo. You may win some sunglasses.
V&M Baits prize pack.
Nobody gets turned away for an old tag and say, "Oh, well, too late, you lost. You're too late catching the fish." P.D. Vincent's going to reward you for catching even an old tag fish, and there are a bunch of them out there, y'all.
So Toledo Bend, where it was kind of started at, where he kind of started all the Bass Cash Bash, there has been, again, we're going from March 1st through July 4th. There has been 25 tags caught. Okay, there is a boat tag, there is a truck tag that is yet to be caught. He also pays for, I think it's $1,000, $1,500 for catching a 10-pound or better. Now, there has been 18 bass weighed in over 10 pounds. Only 4 of those 18 were signed up. So if you catch a 10 while you're at Toledo Bend, 18 10-pounders have been caught since March 1st. If you catch a 10-pounder, you're guaranteed a check. Only 4 of
No
the
matter
18.
what.
Only 4 of the 18 were registered.
Oh my gosh.
So you don't have to catch a tag to win.
No.
You can also catch the 10 plus.
Because he has a lunker program.
Yes, correct. So
Also, real quick, want to congratulate Mike Parr. We both we fished against Mike over the years. He landed a cash tag, picked up $1,000 from Caddo Lake.
and he was registered.
And he was registered. And he got an additional $500 for his T-shirt bonus.
Yes, $1,500.
Bonus T-shirt. So congratulations to Mike. I know he's a good angler, fishes a lot, fishes Caddo a lot, lives in that area. So, and there's another Caddo winner, Clint Constance from Bentley, Louisiana, did the same thing, won $1,000 plus $500 T-shirt bonus. And he caught a tag fish on
There's
Caddo
too many
as well.
Caddo guys that's not taking advantage of this.
Yes.
We both know how hard Caddo gets hit. And again, this is a tournament you can enter, costs $50. Go get registered, basscashbash.com. Again, that's basscashbash.com.
Yep.
Or you can, any of the local, most of your local tackle stores carries a registration packet. You can get registered there as well.
Right.
So
congratulations to all these guys. Again, if you're not entered in this, shame on you, because again, you're gonna spend $50 just on a tank of gas at some point, So put your money up, guys. It's worth every penny of it, especially when you catch that one. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't sign up.
yeah.
So
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. That's right. All right. Let's see here. What else we got, Kevin? Real quick, mine and your experience on Toledo Bend. We'll give a little quick Toledo Bend report. Up until last Saturday, we had a front come through late Friday night. Dropped a bunch of rain on us Friday. We had 3.5 inches here at my house on Sibley Lake here. But it wasn't muddy water. To me, was the problem. It was the temperature and the high pressure. I think that really got the fish on Toledo.
The temperature really dropped, and man, it really hit. I know I didn't get to go, but Wednesday through Friday was an absolute slugfest on Toledo. They
smashed
whacked them.
Yep.
Sight fishing out to Carolina rigging in 8 to 10 foot of water.
Chatterbait, spinnerbait, they was catching them.
Now, and we fished just a little small club tournament that was thrown together.
Right.
And
What won it, 14?
14 pounds won it. It was extremely tough. Like I said,
and
that
you had
cold front,
13?
I had 12.8.
12.8. All right.
But and I started the morning throwing chatterbait and trying to do some different things, and I just couldn't get anything going. And I kind of went up shallow, and I found a 3-pounder bed, and I caught her, and kind of locked me in, and I ended up catching 12 pounds, 8 ounces, 12.8 on, just sight fishing. I had one 6 or 7 pounds that I sat on her for about 45 minutes, never could get her to bite. I left, came back, I sat on her for about another 45 minutes. I just felt like I knew it was tough, and I figured if I would have caught her, I would have won it, and I would have.
Right.
And so I really gave a lot of time to her and trying to catch that big fish, and it just never panned out.
Well, it had been a chunk and wine fishing for the last 3 or 4 days up till Saturday, and then the chunk and whining days was not going to happen. I threw everything but the kitchen sink at them, spinner baits, chatterbaits, could not get a bite on a moving bait, had to resort to flipping and throwing away, and I ended up going to a trick worm to get the 4 fish I caught for the tournament. And I finished probably 7.5 pounds. I was way out of the possible lead for that deal. But
I had a buddy that was fishing another little small, I think, club tournament, and he had 25 pounds. He had a 10 and an 8, but he had 18 pounds with 2. But he was throwing a Carolina rig in about 10, 12 foot of water, and he said,
on Toledo.
On Toledo, and he said, Kevin, you couldn't hardly move it.
Yeah.
You throw it out there, and he's basically dead sticking a Carolina rig. He said, I'd move it and reel it a little bit. He said, I'd let it sit.
Yeah.
And he said, then that's when I would get bit. He had a 10 and an 8. So Saturday just really had them fish in a funk. But, I mean, they're going to come back hard this week. I know last week before Saturday, they was absolutely smashing them.
Right.
On Rayburn, they are just they are catching a fire out of them.
Yep.
So
if the weather stabilizes again, which this week is supposed to stabilize good, they're talking high of 88 to 90, I think, Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's definitely fixing to get warm again. And
the rest that's got to come up spawn is going to come up and do their deal. So, I think we got another wave, maybe 2 still to come up.
Yeah.
So
if you had to recommend one bait from V&M, Kevin, for pitching and flipping right now, bed fishing or fishing, flipping trees or flipping bushes, is there one in particular bait that you'd say, you better have some of these?
Well, a J-bug, obviously, for flipping trees, flipping bushes, a J-bug is the way to go. Now, I will say...
And I like because it's so compact.
Correct.
It's a great compact bait.
It is. And it falls, where if you're going to flip up by the tree or bush, wherever it hits the water, it's falling straight down. It doesn't dart.
Right.
I like when it hits the water, I like it to go right
It's going down to the bottom.
Now for sight fishing, that little wild crawl, especially the junior, it is about as good as they come. It stands up. It's got those real heavy pinchers that give it a lot of action.
Right.
So
you make that in white?
Yes, white pearl. Absolutely.
White pearl.
That's what I caught every fish on this past Saturday.
Yeah.
It is one of the best little, out of all brands, that is one of the best little sight fishing baits you could have.
Huh.
Sure is.
All right. Well, man, that's good to know. All right. That kind of wraps up our fishing part of the show, and Kevin, we'll kind of end our program today with this. The coronavirus, there's a lot of people, still doing their own thing. But let's face it, families have come back together again because of this. People are spending time at home together again. They're eating dinner together again. They're at the table, stuff that's more traditional. Do you see that being the positive that comes out of what we're doing right now?
I mean, of course, that's a positive. But, I'm just worried economically here, Steve, what this is going to do,
right?
To us. But, yes, I mean, that is, the kids going outdoors.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We can't, there's not much else to do. They're not playing ball. They're not playing sports. It's,
right.
We can go outside and do something. We can go fishing.
They can wet a hook. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of things that the kids, this is a change for all of us. It really is.
Now, you've been at Toledo Bend and at a campground.
Yes.
A lot of people doing that.
There wasn't. I was shocked.
Really?
They closed the cabins and everything. But just to give a quick background, I took my family out to Cypress Bend this weekend.
But if you got an RV or camper,
if you got a camper and RV, you can go stay. And I mean, you're social distancing.
Yeah,
you're away
right,
from people
right.
at your own campground. It's just something to do and get out of the house because obviously we're going to be cooped up for several more weeks.
Right.
But it really wasn't. I was very shocked by the amount of people that was actually there. So.
All right, well, I think it's going to wrap us up for another edition of Tackle Talk Live. Once again, we want to thank Raymond Kidd at the Boat Shop for all his support and of our program. And again, if you want to know more about our program, follow us on Facebook. Make sure to like us. Also, check us out and subscribe on our YouTube channel. We'd appreciate it. And we look forward to helping you become a much better angler right here on Tackle Talk Live.